when you can actually see your profit for the year in dollars and cents, it gets you more in the notion of selling corn, knowing that I can lock in a $50,000 profit or whatever the profit is. You want to lock it in. If I know I can make that much profit in a year, I will be in business next year.
Good afternoon, welcome to GrainTV. My name is Cody Bills. This is Kevin McNew. Today is the 13th here, and we have the grains moving higher with corn trading up 7 3/4 cents, soybeans up 5 3/4, and wheat in Chicago trading up 11 cents on the day. Kevin, corn, let's talk about that commodity here. It's trading higher again. It looks like we have a little bit of a breakout. What was driving it?
Yeah, today we got some really good fundamental news, really a continuation of the demand side of this story, and that is ethanol. We saw the highest weekly production for ethanol that we've seen all marketing year at 946,000 barrels per day. You know, that is a marketing year high. When you look at where we are year to date on ethanol, we are running at 6% greater than the same period last year. What that tells me is USDA is underestimating with only a 0.3% change in corn use for ethanol. So I think bulls are starting to take a little look at this market in the ethanol situation and say, you know, we may need to cut our ending stocks 200 to 300 million bushels if this projection continues that we're going to be running 6% or more ahead of pace. So I think that's a key driver right now in conjunction with what's going on in soybeans and wheat in particular.
Absolutely, yeah. And the other thing, one of the other things that seems to be adding a little bit of a positive news here for corn is the fact that we've had wet planting season. That's kind of delayed planting and possibly going to lose some acreage down there in Brazil.
America,
yeah, another thing that's just kind of contributing to this positive price action that we've seen. But let's just take a quick look at the chart here. When you look at corn, you know, I talked to a producer today. They were wondering, they had sold a call and they were wondering, all right, how much higher could this go? Well, let's take a look at some of the key price areas here. We broke out, I think $3.95 is an area where we're going to see resistances right before that big hole number, $4. You'll notice that back on July 17th and 16th, we made a run at that area. $3.95 held as resistance, wasn't able to get above that. I have reason to believe it will hold as resistance again, at least for the short term. So I'd look at that as a critical area. You can see on this bounce from the beginning of October to where we are now, the high side of this trend, this channel that we've been trading in, also will provide some resistance up there. So I think there's a number of factors. You have the 38% retracement, all kind of congregating around that $3.95 price level. I think that's going to be important.
And I think we saw, even with this rally, we saw kind of diminished farmer selling. We saw basis levels in corn pretty strong, and especially I noticed a lot of instances in Nebraska. Crate, Lincoln, you know, key players in that area. Columbus were really driving up basis 5 cents or so. In beans, that was not so much the case today. Actually, a lot of the key buyers were off a little bit. So, in my opinion, you know, the corn market is really sort of demand hungry right now.
That's definitely a nice twist here from the story that we were talking about really last month when we were pushing on new lows here.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about wheat here. We've broken through the 100-day moving average. We have a little bit of room to run here. I think there's a possibility we get up around that 580 mark. That is the 38% retracement. What are the stories that are driving this? You got Ukraine. You got a situation that's developing, getting a little bit more messy over there. A ceasefire that was really established early part of September, late August. That's kind of falling apart here. There's more violence in eastern Ukraine, and that has the market putting a little bit of a premium into wheat. You also have the fact that in Ukraine there's a large portion of the crop, about 30%, exposed to winter kill scenarios. You have the fact that eastern Colorado and Nebraska also exposed to some winter kill scenarios. You have a drought story in Australia. That's not really new and developing, but all these are providing an environment where there's a little bit more short covering going on. We're finally through this resistance level, 100-day moving average. I think we'll have a little bit of room to run here.
Right. And I think, you know, the market domestically, in the case of the U.S., we don't really have anything to trade on other than exports at this point in juncture, and our exports have not been anything to write home about. Looking ahead to tomorrow morning, we'll get the latest export sales projections, looking at what market participants are factoring in right now. Corn, we're looking for 400 to 600,000 metric tons, not a big number. Soybeans, 1,100 to 1,300 million metric, or 1,100 to 1,300 metric tons, and then soy meal and wheat down at the bottom as well. So, I think tomorrow it'll be interesting to see where these export numbers play out, especially in the case of beans, where we've had such a sharp run up. We've had these commodity prices really shoot up. Will we see buyers step forward?
Absolutely. And last week we saw actual cancellations in soy meal. That's going to be interesting to see this week. I mean, will we get some cancellations as well? Last week we had cancellations, but we still moved higher.
Right.
It's going to be interesting again to see where we come out with soy meal. That's really been kind of leading soybeans here. And both soy meal and soybeans have been trading higher in the earlier part of the day and then getting beaten back down for the later part, kind of closing closer to the lows of the trading range. So that pretty much wraps up today's show.
Hey, don't forget, follow us on Twitter at GrainTV. We'll be tweeting the export sales report when it comes out 7:30 Central Time. We'll see you tomorrow.